Live, I am Precious Chikudi. We begin with the front pages of the papers this morning, starting off with Vanguard. Vanguard is leading with killings of soldiers, Okuama women, children trapped in forest for 6 days. The writer says neighboring communities refuse to accept Okuama residents. Starvation looms in Igbo Moturu in Bayelsa over a military siege. Residents can't farm, fish. Man abandons wife, escapes with 2 children. Oborivori warns the traditional rulers against shielding suspects. Killing of 17 soldiers, attack on Nigeria's sovereignty, and that's coming from the federal government. Governors condemn a killing, observe minute silence in honor of slain personnel. Okuama killings could snowball into a bigger conflict, and that's coming from General Olarinwaju, retired. Independence probe of Delta killings will indict VIPs, and that's coming from ex-DSS boss Ejiofor. We can see a photo story showing Tinubu receive Meta delegation. Northern senators decry spate of kidnapping, violence in region. You can read more on page 8 and on page 9. Australia announces tough visa rules for Nigerian student orders. On page 8, still, we have state police. Only 16 states submitted presentation. That's coming from NEC. NLC leaders took workers' salary during invasion, and that's coming from Aburi. And Bure, a pathological liar, says NLC. Brume defends African Games a long jump gold. You can read that on the sport page. Stories above, manufacturers' income tax falls of 6.85% to 145 billion naira in quarter 4 2023. Ayedo Guba, 72 hours to go. 10 parties nominate a candidate, and that's coming from INEC. The writer says a court to deliver judgment ensues challenging Ighodalo's candidacy April 30. Subsidy removal, 1 billion litre of petrol smuggled out, and that's coming from federal government. You can read more on page 8. Over 15 killed, residents flee as the headers attack Benue communities. We take a look at the Guardian newspaper. The Guardian is leading with land grabber speculators wreak havoc on citizens' investments. We can see an infographic showing more on that report. A 2 student nabbed for faking own kidnap in Lagos. The Metro story. A population of displaced children hit 1.8 million. How Nigerian army will fish out killers of 17 soldiers by GOC 6 division. Delta Assembly orders of Oborivori to investigate Okuama killing and stop interfering. NLC doesn't own LP, Aburi tells Ajero. As stakeholders seek action against Nigeria's $10 billion yearly procurement fraud, a CBN agri fund, the next thing pushes recovery as the federal government moves to weed out of fake farmers. Let's take a look at the Punch newspaper. The Punch is leading with 16 governors back state police, submit reports to federal government. The writer says the federal government awaits 20 state reports, says NEC. A presidency source insists all governors want state police, incorporate state police into constitutional amendment, governors tell National Assembly. Smoke out illegal miners, federal government tells 2,200 new mining marshals. Commuters fear gridlock as the construction resumes on Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. You can see more of that story on pages 4 and 5. Foreign trips, federal government may save over 5 billion naira quarterly. Scores killed as bandits sack 9 Benue communities. Stories above. NLC wants minimum wage April. Governor warns against a bloated demand. State owe federal government 1.7 trillion naira budget loans. And lastly, on the front page of the Punch newspaper, naira appreciates to 1,382 naira to a dollar. Presidency cautions speculators. And that's all we can take on the front pages of the papers. Join us after the break. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. If you're just joining me still today in the news on Vanguard Live, I am Precious Chikudi. Joining me to talk about some of the stories on the front pages of the papers this morning is Mr. Rotimi Ajayi, a former regional editor of North Vanguard Media Limited. It's good to have you join me this morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning as usual. Precious, how are you? As you do today.
Very well, thank you. All right, we'll move straight into one of the major headlines that we've had in the course of the week, and that's the killings of soldiers in Okuama community, and we have hundreds of women and children of the community in Delta State who have fled for their dear lives over the killings of these soldiers in the area, and they've been stranded for over 6 days, without food in the forest. What are your thoughts on the situation so far and the reports? There's been conflicting reports coming from there, from the soldiers and from also the indigenes of the community.
Well, good morning again. I feel that right now, every Nigerian that really loves Nigeria should be concerned about what is happening in the country, because we are gradually grinding to a state of total collapse. Countries that have collapsed in the past, we are talking about countries that really went into violent crisis, started like this, because the last shred or the last thread of Nigerian security is being taken on, is being tested, and if we go on like this, I tell you, there will be nothing left for us to be able to, say we are defending a territory called Nigeria any longer. We know what's happening in Haiti at the moment, where gangs have taken over that country. Are we going towards that place? And why are we having this kind of situation? The whole thing boils down to individual Nigerians. We can no longer blame the federal government or blame the institution, any longer for this. This is about us, you understand? And I think it's a sorry case. It's a very sad case that some people will just gang up and then you take on soldiers, military, policemen, and kill them. There is no reason for anyone to kill anybody at all. You don't even have a reason to even attack a fellow human being in a very decent society. So if we are blaming government, we should turn the heat or the light to ourselves too individually and blame ourselves for what is happening in the country now. It happened before, years back, under President Olusegun Obasanjo. You remember the case of Odi, you understand, where policemen were even killed, not even soldiers. You understand? You know what happened then? Of course, international community or some people, some Nigerians who could not even understand the basic philosophy of how a nation gets built, turned around and said it was human rights situation happened. Or that community now, there is no way you're going to have a decent approach or a decent handling or humane handling of the situation by the Nigerian military or by any military at all, even. So soldiers were trained to be brutal in war. That's why they are not usually deployed to civil situations. But in a situation where you now kill them, you don't expect that there won't be a reprisal. And when reprisal comes, there is no reason to begin to point fingers of human rights abuse and all that. To me, it is a sorry situation.
All right. Some security experts have called for, independent investigation into what happened in that community from the federal government, because, like I said, there are a lot of conflicting reports of where, the indigenes of that community have come out to say that, they received the soldiers warmly, only for them to say they wanted to take their community leader, of which they refused. They protested against, and that was how the soldiers opened fire against them and killed some of their people and all of that. So too many conflicting reports, and we've seen the damages that happened in that place. Houses raised, people are scampering to neighboring communities, villages, and even going as far as where they would feel secure and all of that. How do you react to this? What do you think the government should really be looking at?
Well, when we talk about conflicting reports about what happened, what led to the killing of the soldiers, from what you said now, that some community members or some community people were saying that their leader wanted to be taken and they resisted. In Nigerian law, that's what we call obstruction of justice. Okay? The Nigerian judiciary system was put in place for people to seek redress or to seek justice appropriately. If not because our country has really, really degenerated, a uniformed officer cannot actually be impeded in the course of doing his or her job. Of course, it doesn't matter. You can question what kind of job the person is doing, but it's for the court to determine that one. But when you are approached by any uniformed officer, be it police, be it immigration, be it custom, be it, not even talking about soldiers, you understand? The first thing you are expected to do is, okay, oblige them. Okay, of course, they are expected to treat you decently, treat you with human dignity, but you cannot say soldiers are attempting to have, they might call it investigation. You understand? They came to they are coming to a community, and then they are asking to maybe interrogate or take somebody away into custody for further investigation, and then the community people would meal together and say they are protesting or they are resisting the taking away of such an individual. That is obstruction of justice in the largest scale. So even if that is what happened, you can't turn around and blame the soldiers for what happened. Not to talk about justified killing of members of the Nigerian Armed Forces. How do you want to defend your country without the Nigerian army? When I'm talking about the army now, I'm talking about all the armed forces, you understand? There is nothing called territorial integrity in Nigeria. There's nothing called sovereignty. So we cannot, I'm sorry, many Nigerians may not like this thing. It is totally wrong to turn around and kill soldiers. You understand? If we say we still want the country called Nigeria, we cannot continue the way we are going. So there is no way we can't turn around and be facing the federal government and be blaming federal government for what happened now. For once, Nigerians should look at themselves and blame themselves.
All right, so how do you think that the government can start to address the deteriorating civil or military relations in various parts of the country?
I think the best thing to do now is, as best as possible, to do what used to happen in Nigeria. You take away the soldiers from the streets. Years back, around 1970s to early 80s, until Babangida came and messed up the whole system, you understand? Soldiers used to be in the barracks. They trained in the barracks. They used to deploy strictly to armed conflict zones, not to handle civil disobedience or civil crisis that Nigerian police can ordinarily handle. But it is because Nigeria witnessed the generation of the capacity of the Nigerian police. That's why soldiers were now brought in to supplement their effort. But it is totally wrong to continue to have the soldiers to have a kind of interaction with the civil communities the way we are having it now. If we are doing that, there will continue to be a collapse or a decay of the interaction between the military and the civilian people. So the best thing, let the police face their original task. We take away soldiers completely from civil engagement in Nigeria. You see, when we travel across the country now, you go to on some roads, you see what we call military checkpoint and everything. There is no reason why, you understand, why the policemen cannot handle that one. You understand? The number of policemen that we send to guide the VIPs, remove them. It's because why are these VIPs hiding under a very protected chair? It is because they feel uncomfortable in the country. Remove those soldiers, those policemen, release them for civil engagement, and then let's see. If you are a senator and you happen to have gotten, you believe that you can sincerely tell your chamber to buy you a car worth over 160 million. And in your constituent or in your district, there are schools that are collapsing of children. There are hospitals where they cannot even afford ordinary analgesic. Then, why do you need to protect yourself and get a policeman to protect you when you are driving around in those communities? You even have roads that are bad in your community. You are not doing anything in terms of ensuring that what we call district or constituency project to come in there and enhance the living standard of that community. The best thing for federal government, withdraw the soldiers from civil engagement. Let the police face the Nigerian civil task.
All right, as a result of this incident, there's been a lot of calls for state policing. I would like you to speak on state policing and how you think it would solve, pressing issues in states.
Oh, absolutely. We discussed about state police here for during some of our editions here, and I still remain where I was then, that the state police is the best that Nigeria can have at this moment to tackle the problem of insecurity. But Nigeria should not expect that when individual states begin to set up police, it's an end in itself. No, it's not going to solve the problem of insecurity just by merely having Lagos State Police or Delta State Police or what do you call it, or Anambra State Police. That is that. There will be more policy issues and programs that must be implemented by the state in order to be able to get to the targeted point. And what are some of these programs? Let us say Lagos State government. I don't want to use the example of Lagos State, but that's what we can relate to now. Lagos State government is already doing so much in terms of building its infrastructure. From there, they are moving on, building lived environment of Lagosians. What do I mean by lived environment? Individual communities in Lagos, Magodo, Morocco, Ikeja, wherever, you understand. So with the infrastructure that is being built now, with the infrastructure that is being built by the Lagos State government, you then go on and do what you call urban renewal. Part of the urban renewal will mean that we'll go back to having proper identification of houses and human beings that are living in a particular state. That will help the police to be able to properly handle crises, crimes, and this kind of insecurity that we are talking about. Because take it today. Now, if you look at the incidence of a bank fraud, it has significantly dropped in Nigeria. Why is that? Because it is very easy now to track movement of money because of what the decisions that have been taken by CBN. Do you understand? But when you look at how we still move, if you have a car now, you understand? We will say for you to even get a registration, to get driver's license in Nigeria. You understand? Today, unlike what happens in Senate claims, you need to apply to Federal Road Safety Corps in Abuja. In order for those people to have some kind of money on which they can feed fat on, they are holding on to the monopoly of issuing driver's license. The federal government has no business leaving Federal Road Safety Corps to be the only one that will be issuing driver's license in Nigeria. Individual states should take on that mantle so that when you are being, every state should have its own driver's license issuing authority. That enables you to capture the data of those who are living in your state. Okay, that's number one. Number two, if I have to do business in Lagos or do business in Ogun State and I don't have any business in Abuja, why do you have to go and register with the Corporate Affairs Commission in Abuja? You understand? So the federal government can do that. So these are some of the things that we can do to supplement and help the state police to work.
All right. Still speaking about state police, a report from National Economic Council, said that only 16 out of 36 states and the FCT submitted reports on proposed the establishment of state police. What are your thoughts? This is really a very low number, considering if the governors will be looking at, state policing.
See, when you are looking at a social problem, it is not every time that we use numerical stats to make our judgment. Okay? Sorry, excuse me. When you look at the Nigerian structure, we have 36 states, and 16 states have shown interest in setting up their own state police. That is an encouraging number. Don't forget, this is a change that we are about to step into. Human beings naturally do not like change. We like to stay in our comfort zones. So if 16 out of 36 have shown interest, it is a commendable number. Those ones that are yet to show are possibly waiting for the other 16, for those 16 to set it up and look at how it runs before they step into the water. But definitely it is a good start. There are 16 people saying, I want to put my feet in the water and test it before we know, to know the temperature of the water and all that. If those 16 states are able to properly set up in Nigeria, it's going to bring down the density or the scale of insecurity in the country. If they are able to, supplement the setting up of the state police with other civic policies, other development policies, and that will enable the state police to properly run. You understand? It will bring it down significantly. You see, policy is not about security is not about seeing guns around you physically. No. There are countries where you will hardly see any policeman on the streets. I'll give you an instance. Take a place like Norway, any of the Nordic countries. You understand? You will hardly see policemen anywhere. Even they are there, you understand? But you find out that they've been able to get to the level of human development where people themselves have formed their policing apparatus, that they police themselves. You can't just say, okay, fine, I'll finish with my pure water sachet, and then you just throw it out of the window like that on the street like that. People have been so groomed, they have developed themselves that they police themselves. So this is the stage where we should get to. If we get to this stage, we find out things will work for Nigeria. Things will work for all of us.
All right. Moving on, senators from the 19 northern states and FCT under the aegis of Northern Senators Forum have raised alarm over the unending spate of kidnapping and violence in the north. And there's not a day that goes by that we don't talk about insecurity and how it has really been bad in the country. How do you react?
Did you say senators are reacting? They are ganging up to complain about the spate of insecurity, kidnapping, and all that in the northern state. A senator represents a particular district in the country, usually 3 to 4 local government marks. You understand? And under that district, you have federal constituency where the House of Reps members represent, before you begin to have the state constituency where the members of the House of Assembly are superintending. And then it now crystallizes, it cascades down to now having local government and then governors. Now, please tell me, things are happening in your state. Every senator in Nigeria is a multi-millionaire. The very first day you get elected in Nigeria into the Senate or House of Rep, you are a millionaire. Because there is no way the first thing that comes out of the kind of money that goes into maintaining these senators is so much. How much are they returning to the people they are representing? That's the first question. What has been the significant law or legislation that a particular senator has been able to bring up for his or her own constituency, other than grandstanding, other than parading themselves in flashy cars, in exotic clothes and all that? Okay, so when you look at it, it is a laughable matter that senators will say they are complaining about the spate of insecurity in their area. All we've been talking since Monday, you cannot expect the federal government to go to everywhere. This is why we have local government. When there was no local government autonomy, we were all crying. The local governments were were being restrained from functioning. The state government are trying to, incapacitate the local government. Now you have the local government. In the local government, you have the communities. Every senator comes from a particular community, from a particular family. Okay, so when you have that kind of situation, please tell me, how are you incapacitated as a senator to help your district? I think they should cover their faces in shame to even be complaining at all that the spate of kidnapping and insecurity in the north is so high. Who are they complaining to? They are officers of the Federal Republic. They are lawmakers. They are in governance. They are in authority. Please, this kind of report is even laughable.
All right,
it's a shame on them.
Yeah. All right, let's touch on this one before we go, because I think our time is fast spent, and it's about Australia announcing top visa rules for Nigerian students, and this is as a result of their bid to cut migration. They're also talking about the government suspending universities from recruiting foreign students if they break the rules. How do you react to this information?
I am not sure. I've not read that report, but I'm not sure the decision of Australia will have been targeted against Nigerians alone. Because from our knowledge of immigration, it is difficult to actually target a particular country for what you can call restrictive immigration policy, because in international law, in the international relations, that's what we call reciprocity principle. Australia has solid bilateral relation with Nigeria. Okay, Australians are living in Nigeria, and part of Nigerians going to Australia for education purposes, for what the recreation, for tourism, for business, you understand, it's as a result of us having bilateral relationship. However, given the way Nigerians are now, okay, the level of indiscipline sometimes make us not to recognize the red point in every situation. So if it's as a result of abuse, of indiscipline, of being the right rules, perhaps that action could have been taken. But if you say because they want to cut down immigration, believe me, there is no country in the world that can survive without immigration. Immigration is an elixir that makes nations to run. That is, if you say you are just going to live with your own people alone, let us say, like the state of Israel, even state of Israel still admits some people in. You understand? There is no way you can have it. So we need to look at ourselves. Look at Nigerians. This is the time we should be talking to Nigerians. What is our discipline profile? Then, if we begin to do that, a lot of things will open for us. Years back, Nigerians were being cutted everywhere. There are some places where they are still being cutted now when you obey the law. So that is what I can tell you in terms of that.
All right, so let's take a look at Mr. and Mrs. before we go. And Mrs. is speaking this morning. He says, I know the Naira is appreciated. Look, don't tamper with my allowance or there will be trouble. And Mr. responds and says, but yeah, you notified me when the Naira depreciated and there was no trouble.
Well, concerned, that's a good one. The Naira has appreciated, don't tamper with my allowance, yes. So if something happened at the time when there was a negative occurrence, why should the same thing not happen when you have a positive occurrence? I'm asking you.
Well,
Madam Precious, you are the Mrs. Hena.
I think that Mrs. will answer that question to Mr. Thank you so much, Mr. Rotimi Ajayi, for
sure,
my editor. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing your thought with us this morning.
Thank you.
Also, remember that you can equally like, share, and subscribe on all our social media platforms showing on your screen. To find out up-to-date stories, go to our website, www.vanguardindia.com, to find out more. I am Precious Chukudi, and thank you.